So this summer, like I love it, right? I love going to the beach, even though I'm like super white. I'm trying to lose that this summer. But this time of year has always like been an indicator for me, like right? It's like it's been one of those things that has let me know that something needs to change. And by what I'm talking about like when I look in the mirror and I know it's almost like beach season, and I'm like, man, I got to start running. Anybody with me? Like you see, like, okay, it's almost that time. We're gonna have to take off my shirt, go to the beach, and like I'm gonna have to start running. Anybody actually enjoy running in here? Any run? Okay, I cannot relate with half of this room because you guys are all like running and like in shape and loving that, and I just can't relate. I am not a big fan of running. Can I tell you guys about the last time that I went for a run? It was like a year and a half ago. I'm just gonna be honest. So I used to live over near May River. Anybody in here go to May River? Anybody like middle school about to go to May River here soon? Like eventually? All right, so I used to live like, have you guys like on your way over there? I know like even if you don't go there, you've been over there. You've seen like, there's like a trail that runs next to the school. You guys have seen that, right? You know what I'm talking about? So I used to live right there, and almost every day leading up to the summer, like a year and a half ago, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna run this. It's like 2.5 miles down to Palmetto Bluff, and then like 2.5 back, and I'm gonna do this like 4 to 5 days of the week. If I can just like do this, I'm gonna be good, right? So I started to think one day, like, okay, you know, I'm in the South, I'm in South Carolina, like I've heard about snakes, but I've never really seen one. Right? And I'm like, why have I not seen one quite yet? I'm probably like speaking it into existence, and that's not good. How many of you guys know that you got to knock on wood when you say something like that? Like, I've never seen a snake. Like, you better knock on wood, otherwise you're going to find one in your house tonight. That's what happened to me. I was like, you know, like thinking, starting the run, have my AirPods in, getting ready to go for a run. I'm like, man, like I haven't seen a snake down here since running. I'm running these trails every day. And that exact day, I go running, and like I'm just, you know, listen to my music, listen to a podcast, something like that. I'm running, and then I got to this like little jog turns into like a sprint and a hurdle like match because like I'm running, and then I see like this thing slithering across like the sidewalk, and like I didn't really see it at first, and then I had to turn it into a long jump where I was like, phew, and like had to like fly, and then my heart rate jumped from like whatever it was at up about like 50 like beats per minute. I don't even understand how you like measure that, but so in my head I'm thinking like, yo, there's snakes out here. I should not have said that. Like I am freaked out. Like what do I do if I like see a snake? Like I'm already running. I'm exhausted because I'm out here trying to get fit, and it is an exhausting process. And I'm out here running, and I get to the end of, you know, down to Palmetto Bluff where I would stop, take like a 55-minute break, get ready to run home because I've already ran this far away, and I've got to like get home somehow. I'll admit there was a time or two. Called my roommate like, hey, I can't make it back. I'm gonna need you to pick me up. But on this day, I was determined, like I'm gonna run home. And so on my way home, I'm running, and then parallel with me are two copperheads. Like, they're trying to keep pace with me. And I'm like, dang, these things, I didn't know they could run like 15 miles per hour because they're like keeping up with me. And then they like, yeah, right, they slithered, thank you. Anyway, they're coming along, and then they like make a break towards me, and like then it turned into a hurdle match where I was like, and then like, and then I just sprinted. I got a PR that day. Can you guys like make some noise for like my effort that day? I ran like a 2-minute mile on the way home. I don't even know if I'm exaggerating on that because like I sprinted, did not look back, and then I think there was one other one that like I literally, its face was going like this, like up at me, and I had to like slow-mo jump over it, and then took off, did not stop until I was in my house, door closed, locked. I was upstairs, locked my door, jumped in the shower because I was so scared. And I checked that thing, make sure there was no shower. There's snakes in the shower too. Like that, just thinking of that scares the crap out of me, and like, oh, I don't like snakes. And then I had dreams about snakes for the next 2 weeks. Anyway, we're not preaching on snakes tonight. This summer, you're gonna run. You are gonna run. I'm not even talking physically. I'm talking spiritually. Everybody, turn to your neighbor and say you're gonna run. Turn to your second favorite neighbor and say, yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah. So tonight, I'm titling this message, Move It or Lose It. And I'm sure half of you guys are like, what's that mean? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. So when I say move it, here's what I mean. This summer, your relationship with God is going to move. It's going to grow. It's going to strengthen. It's going to be like so far like advanced and down the road that you're going to look back at the beginning of like right now. You're like, we're thinking like future time, looking back to right now. And you're going to be like, who was that person? Like, you know that awkward, like, first day of school when, like, you're kind of asking everybody the question, like, oh, what'd you do this summer? And you're kind of, like, looking around like, I know what that guy did. Like, that guy's been in the gym all summer because his biceps are, like, twice the size of his head. Like, I know what that guy's been doing. Or, like, when you're, like, looking around, like, oh, that girl has been at the beach because she turned, like, 12 shades darker, and I didn't even know that was possible, but it did. But people, they're going to look at you, and you're going to be like, dang, that dude or that girl has just been with Jesus this summer, because they're just radiating this peace and this security and this comfort that, like, not everybody else has. And they're going to be able to tell that they've been investing in soul-level stuff, not just, like, swole-level stuff or stuff that's been, like, skin deep. Anybody want that? Anybody excited for that? What this summer could really mean for your relationship with God? Anybody excited? Yeah, a couple of you guys. Okay. But let me tell you about the other half of that. Others of you guys, you're going to lose it. And if that's you, you're going to be the one saying, like, you know, I mean, summer's here. Like, I'm just going to put this Jesus thing down for now. I'll be back. Like, I'll come back. But I'm just going to put this Jesus thing down for now. I got a lot of Fortnite to play. I got a lot of Netflix to binge. I got stuff to do. And, like, you know, just thinking of that, you're already like, yeah, this summer, I got a lot. Like, I think I need a nap just thinking about that. And you're going to come back, just wandering back into youth group end of summer and be like, yo, what's up, Jesus? Like, I missed you. Like, kind of, like, you know, remember, like, when we did this thing back in the day? Now I'm back. Like, I'm here. And, you know, like, I'm sorry, but I had football this summer. I had wrestling this summer. I had stuff to do this summer. I'm sorry, like, you know, I had to go do this. And Jesus is probably up there like, why wasn't I invited? Like, you know, Jesus, how many of you guys know that when you hit the sports field, when you do anything that you're doing throughout your day, working your job, hitting the beach, taking vacation, Jesus is with you in that time because he never leaves you or forsakes you. He is with you. His presence is with you in that time. Anybody know that? Yeah. And, like, I want you guys, can I just tell you a simple fact about those of you guys who are going to be on the sport field and who enjoy sports, that Jesus and God, they enjoy sports. Anybody, do you guys know that? And I'm going to prove it. Check this out. If you've got your Bible, turn with me to 1 Corinthians 9, 24 through 27. Kyle, I think you already got it because you just, like, almost won that race against Harper. When you get there, just yell something at me. Oh, that's good. Some of you guys are there. You're yelling something. Awesome. I don't know what that was. Oh. You guys got actions. Oh, wait, come on up. You guys got actions from Sports Tech. Come on down. Is it like 20, just 24 all the way to 27? 24, 25. Okay, guys, pay attention. We got some, like, they've been at sports camp. They've been volunteering. They've been serving. Can we just make some noise for them? Yeah. All right, here we go. 1 Corinthians 9, 24 through 27. Do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, okay, yeah, make some noise for them. They did a great job. They were like sign language in the whole thing. I'm just going to fly through that part one more time. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. So Paul is painting this picture of an athlete. How many athletes do we have in here? Just raise your hand if you're an athlete. Play any sport. Swimming counts. Bowling kind of counts. Stuff like that. Just raise your hand. Okay, cool. Golf can count, yeah. So, Paul is using this context that he has. He's talking about athletes because he's talking to some athletes, and he's talking to a lot of people here in Corinth, because Corinth hosted this thing called the Isthmian Games. Everybody say Isthmian. It's like one of those really weird times where it's like ITHS, so it's like you kind of, Isthmian, like you're trying to, like, you have a lisp. The Isthmian Games, which is kind of like an Olympic-style contest. So Paul, the guy who's writing this book to this church in Corinth, he's saying, hey, you guys are athletes, you know what I'm talking about. And he is writing this to them so in a way to connect with them. We have some athletes in here, so this should be something that we're able to understand tonight. So Paul is saying this. He's saying everyone is running. We're all running a race, not a physical race, but he's using this to describe our life like a race. So we can all agree that we're running. However, not everyone is running to win. There's some people who are chasing temporary satisfaction, and Paul describes these people as running aimlessly. So can you imagine, like, Saturday morning, you are sitting at the greatest place on earth, Chick-fil-A, for breakfast. You've got an anointed chicken biscuit right in front of you with some hash browns, right? Like, greatest morning ever, Saturday morning. And then, like, you look out the window and you see one of your friends, like, dressed up in like a Bluffton track outfit, like with the shorts that are uncomfortably too short, like decked out, ready to go. And they come running in, and you're like, dude, like, it's like state tournament day. It's like right now, like, you're supposed to be in a race right now. Like, what are you doing here? Like, I get it, it's Chick-fil-A, it's great, but, like, you got more important things to do right now. Like, what are you doing? And, like, your friend's like, yeah, I mean, like, well, the race started, but then instead of finishing, I decided, like, Chick-fil-A, am I right? I mean, like, I was hungry, so I thought I need to come here to Chick-fil-A to get a bite to eat. Would you not be like, dude, you are an idiot. You're turning down, like, a state championship for a chicken biscuit? Right, I agree. Chicken biscuits are good, but I don't know, like, a state championship you could eat that after, right? You could eat that anytime. So that's what Paul's talking about right here. Some people are running with no aim. They're not seeing the end line. They're not seeing the finish line. They are stopping halfway. They're just getting distracted. They're running without any aim. So Paul is saying that there's some people who are wandering through life aimlessly, chasing things that might temporarily appease their appetite, but hinder them from anything substantial and worthy of their soul's attention. And if we're not careful, and we lose sight of the fact that this life is about knowing God and enjoying it, if we lose track of that, we're going to miss it. And we're going to run our lives super aimlessly. And here's what that looks like. That looks like placing our identity in how many followers we have on Instagram, which we know only leads to comparing ourselves, a poor self-image, and a view of life that says it's all about me. Look at me. Look at my profile. Look at me. So it looks like that. Or running aimlessly could mean chasing other people's opinions and wanting to please their idea of what they have for you, chasing after expectations, which we know only leads to stress, anxiety, and depression. Check the culture right now, and it's true. Or wandering aimlessly looks like this. It means chasing the next party, trying to find that next high, which leads straight to a life of emptiness, addiction, and other consequences that come with that life, with that lifestyle choice. So some people are running this life with no aim. They're running their race with absolutely no aim. But here's what Paul's saying. Paul's saying that's not us. He's saying run in such a way to win the race. We're not running aimlessly. We're running to win the race. A lot of people, they're chasing the temporary satisfaction when we chase an eternal glory. Because we know that on the other side of this life, we've got life eternal. We know that we're not just meant to survive on this earth, but we're meant to thrive. We're moving towards something. We're always going towards someone. We're not stopping and getting distracted, but no, we are moving towards something eternal and that will satisfy us for eternity. So Paul is saying this. He's saying run in such a way to win the race. So, naturally, my first question when I read this is like, how do I do that? How do I run this life that's actually worth something? How do I make sure my life has purpose? How do I make sure that I'm not running this life with zero aim and zero direction and getting distracted by the little things that are not going to bring any satisfaction to my life? How do I do that? And he says it right in verse 25. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. How many of you guys know discipline is not easy, but it's worth it? How many of you guys know that success today equals training yesterday? How many of you guys have trained for something before, either a race or a sport or maybe even a test? All right, a lot of you guys. So is the training fun? No, the training is the worst. Back when I was playing basketball in college, we had this preseason training, and that is the closest thing to hell on earth. So I would never pray that you guys would ever do anything like this. But here's what that looked like. Preseason, we had this training, and what we would do, the coach had us line up on the sideline, on the one baseline. And we had to do these things called sprints. Anybody heard of them? They are the absolute worst. So the coach, he would take the little shot clock thing, and he would put 2 minutes on the timer. And he'd say, all right, guys, once that hits go, once I say go, you're doing 20 down and backs. So 20, that's like, this is 1, and then this is 2. You're doing 20. You got to finish in 2 minutes. And if the whole team doesn't finish, we're doing it again. So we did it. And we're getting to the end, and we're exhausted, and we're like, yeah, looking at each other like, oh, we made it. And then coach puts the 1:55 on the clock, and then he goes, all right, 19. And we're like, wait, like 19 more? Like we just did, we already did 19 because we did that was included in the 20, right? And he's like, no, you did 20, now you're doing 19. We did that all the way down until, guess how long we had to do one? 4 seconds. 4 seconds to get all the way down. And my freshman year of college, I nearly died on the basketball court. Like, I didn't even, it was the worst thing ever. And, but I figured it out after time, that if I can just discipline myself, if I can just drink a ton of water, if I can eat correctly leading up to these moments of training, then I can survive this. And not only survive this, I can do this well. So my junior year, 2 years later, I did play sophomore year, but I was still dying. I trained getting ready for that year. And I said, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to drink right, I'm going to drink a ton of water leading up to this. And for 2 straight years, we practiced almost every day. I never lost another sprint to a teammate. I always lapped them by at least half a lap because I disciplined my body for the correction that it needed to get me ready for that season. And in that season, our team was the fastest team out there because we knew how to discipline ourselves for what was to come. So there's no success without discipline. Whatever you guys want to do in life, there's no success without discipline. And for us to say yes to the best things, we need to learn how to say no to the good things. Some things look good, but they're not the best things for us. And it works that way spiritually too. Hebrews 12:1 says this, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. So for us to run in such a way, for us to win the prize, we need to discipline ourselves so that way we can run this race well. And if our prize is seeking after God and chasing after eternity with him and chasing after this life of all the blessings and everything that he wants to do for us, there's some discipline that's going to have to take place. And I've got just 3 really quick suggestions for you tonight. And we're going to wrap up after this. But I've just got these 3 quick suggestions when it comes to disciplining yourself. So the first one is this: know your strategy. Anybody know a guy in here who's not in here named Camden Davis, part of this youth group for a while? He went off to SWU. Yeah. So I was talking to him a few weeks ago. We were up at Clemson together. Hunter was there. And we were talking about running. And I always thought, these track dudes, these cross-country dudes, whatever, track, he was track, that they just get out there and run. And after talking to him, there's apparently some strategy in this. He runs the 800. Anybody in here ever run an 800-meter? Okay, here's what I learned from him. I thought they just get out there and run as fast as they can, and hopefully the fastest one wins, right? No, apparently there's a strategy to this. Apparently, the goal is right around 2 minutes for them. So he said the first lap, you try and get 50 seconds. So that way on that second lap, you go as fast as you can, aiming to just try and get underneath that 2-minute marker. If you get 1:10, then you're still good because you hit that 50-second marker that first time. But it's about the strategy. Runners don't step into these races without a strategy. And when it comes to your spiritual life, what is your strategy? Write this down for me. Know your time, know your place, know your plan. Time, place, plan. When it comes into getting a consistent habit in your life of getting in the Word and getting quiet time with God, you got to know your time, which is what part of the day am I doing this quiet time? What part of the day am I making sure this time of day is set apart for God? This part of the day, I know that at this time I'm reading my Bible. You got to know your place. Do I have a reading chair that I go to? Do I have a back porch? Do I have this spot that is always my spot designated for just reading or just getting in the Word? Do I just know where I'm going to go? And the last one is this: know your plan. Know what you're going to read ahead of time. So when you set this up in your mind, I'm thinking I do my stuff in the morning. 7 o'clock, that's where you'll find me, right on my floor, getting in the Word with a cup of coffee. And I already know tomorrow morning is Acts 23 because I read the end of Acts 22 today. So basically that means when I'm going to bed, I already know exactly what I'm doing in the morning, and that way I don't have to think about it. I know that sets up what time I'm getting out of bed. There's no laziness that's going to happen. So know your strategy, know your time, know your place, know your plan. Second is this: find a running partner. If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So I like doing CrossFit. Any other CrossFitters in here? Maybe? Okay, 1, 2, let's go. 3. Awesome. So I like doing that because, I mean, one, I like working out, but I like having that accountability. When you're working out in a group, like when you're getting tired and when you feel like you can't do anymore, you look to that person on the left or that person on the right, and you're like, okay, if that guy can keep going, I can keep going. And that same thing works with your spiritual life. Who's that friend? Maybe they're in this room. Who's that friend that over the summer, when you're getting tired, when you're getting weary, when you don't feel like getting in the Word, when you don't feel like praying, when you don't feel like coming to church, when you don't feel like doing anything that has to do with God, who's that person that's going to say, nah, like I'm going to push you where you need to go? Guys, we can't live this life alone. We got to have people in our lives. So know and find a running partner. And the last thing is this, last one, then we're going to wrap up. Lose the weight. When it comes to running, we got to lose the weight. And I'm not talking pounds. The Hebrews verse talked about getting rid of the sin and the weight that entangled us. In a race, runners are wearing the most lightest, like aerodynamic jerseys. They're wearing like their shoes are like light as a feather. Why? They don't want weight slowing them down, right? They don't want anything that's going to get in the way of them getting from here to that finish line. They're taking away every little obstacle, everything in their way that could hinder them from running as fast as they can. Guys, we got to remove the things in our lives that are slowing us down from being and doing all that God has for us. So for some of you guys, that's video games. Like if we're spending 8 hours on Fortnite and only 8 minutes time with God, you might want to check your heart. And maybe for some of you guys, that's friends. If they're dragging you down, if they're not living that life, maybe you need to reevaluate those friendships, even if it's just for a season or a time being. And then last, maybe it's your schedule. I've heard so many people say, like, man, like, I really want to get in the Word. I really want to spend time with God. I really want to pray, but I just don't really have time. Like, it's just busy. But then I see the same people on Instagram scrolling that thing for 15 minutes. So you have the time. What are you doing with it? So, guys, whatever that weight is that's slowing you down, it's time to drop that off so that way you can run. So tonight we're going to close. Here's what I want us to do. Everybody stand up. If anybody's asleep, just hit him in the head real quick. So in the beginning of this, we talked about some of you who are going to move it and others of you in this room who are just going to lose it. They're going to say, for this summer, like, I'm done with this. I'm just going to go focus on me. I'm going to do my own thing. But some of you guys in this room, you're going to be exactly what we talked about, where when we get to the end of the summer, you're not even going to recognize the person who you are today because you spent so much time with Jesus. And if you want that, only if you want that. If you've admitted, like, all right, I'm just going to lose it. Like, that's my plan. All right, then you guys don't even pay attention right now. But if you really want this relationship with God to take off and be something incredible and momentous in this summer, to be something that's going to springboard you into your destiny that God's got for you, here's what I want you to do. Just take your hands as a sign of surrender and just hold them out. And we're going to close our eyes right now. No looking around. If you're saying that this is a time that I want to move it, that I want to get close to God, we're going to pray, and we're just going to ask him to move in our lives. So, Father, you see the hands. We just pray that this would be a holy marker in our life that we can just look back at and say, that was the moment that I got serious. That was the moment where I decided to move it, that I decided to run this race that God's got for me, that I'm not running for myself anymore, that, Lord, I'm running for you. So, Father, we cannot wait for what you're going to do through us and in us this summer, Lord. We cannot wait to show back up at the end of summer just with some incredible testimonies of what you've done in our lives. So, Father, again, you see these hands, and I just ask that everyone who is seeking after you and wants it and desires it, that you would just meet them and encounter them in the coolest and most incredible ways. We love you, Lord, and this we lift in your name.